It's time for the Sports Blitz, the only live-streamed local sports show in Arkansas, with all the latest on the sports stories that matter to you.
Welcome in on a Monday. It's an almost Monday. That's what it is. It's an almost sort of day. It's a just about. Arkansas just about competed with Florida on Saturday. Russellville Cyclones almost just about came back to win on homecoming. The Dallas Cowboys just about took down the Denver Broncos. I predicted it on Friday. I actually predicted it on Wednesday. It just sort of hit me on Wednesday that I thought the Dallas Cowboys would win because it's just so Dallas Cowboys to go out and compete against a team that should beat you by a lot and find a way to win, and then the next week lose. So I think with the Dallas Cowboys history and the fact that they've been basically 500 over the past 17 years, that the fact that they lost to Denver means they're going to go in and play Washington next week and win the game. And then the next week they'll lose, then the next week they'll win because that's who they are. I was very disappointed to see that Tony Romo threw for 506 yards and one interception. 5 touchdown passes, 506 yards, and everybody is just glowing about Tony Romo. And then one play. Drops back to pass, throws one across the middle to a tight end. I guess it was a linebacker, Trevathan, made an incredible diving interception. It's actually, I think, the second nice interception he's made on the year. He's also the guy who dropped the ball at the 1-yard line in that, I guess it was the Ravens game, the first game of the year. If I'm not mistaken, he has the interception. He's running into the end zone, and he starts celebrating about the 1-yard line, just drops the ball off. Just, boop, I don't need it. Goes in to celebrate, figures out, oh, wait, it's not our ball anymore because I fumbled it, and they got it for a touchback. But he made a nice interception, Tony Romo. Can't say enough good things about the way he played, but I also can't say that it's surprising. Tony Romo has been, it's like Manny Ramirez back in the day with the Red Sox. It was Manny being Manny, or like Rex Grossman back in the day for the Gators of Florida and then the Redskins. It was good Rex, bad Rex, and you never knew, even into Chicago. I'm sorry, it was Chicago where the good Rex, bad Rex came to be. They lost in the Super Bowl that year, but it was good Rex, bad Rex, where he'd make great plays and you'd think this guy has got it figured out, and then he would make a play that you're just like, did he just do that? I mean, was that a Pop Warner play or was that an NFL quarterback? And Tony Romo, he's been much better than that. If you look at the numbers and the stats, we'll probably look at them in greater detail in a little bit, but he's been incredible this year so far. Matter of fact, I'm going to go look at some stats right now because I think right now if you were to look at the quarterbacks, Peyton Manning far and away having the best year of anybody. Tony Romo is number 5 in the league, 1,523 yards. Peyton Manning's got 1,884. But Matthew Stafford has 1,524, one more yard than Tony Romo. Phillip Rivers has 1,610. Of course, he had 400 against Dallas last week. That's 2 weeks in a row the Dallas defense has given up 400 yards passing. Now, I can understand giving up 400 yards to Peyton Manning, but you gave up 400 to Phillip Rivers also. Monty Kiffin, bud, you're going to have to get this crap together. I know you're 75 years old, and it's probably hard enough to remember your name, but getting a defense on the field that can compete, that's the reason Rob Ryan is in New Orleans right now, and he's doing a pretty good job with that defense in New Orleans. So I think Jerry Jones, we could spend all day talking about why I think Jerry Jones needs to give up the reins as general manager, but it's neither here nor there. The Dallas Cowboys, tough loss yesterday. I know if you're anything like me, you'd rather not even hear about a game like this. I'd rather just hear, if I knew that Dallas was playing Denver, and I was driving yesterday back from Oklahoma, and I was following the Gamecast and listening, following Twitter, trying to keep up with the game as best I could, and I watched the replays, watched the highlights a couple times, but watching all that stuff, I would rather now, after knowing that Dallas lost the way they did, just hear, we lost. it's over. That's it. And then I just say, oh, well, that's kind of what I expected. Now, I predicted that the Cowboys would win the game, but I would have rather just heard, yeah, they lost, and then be done with it, than to hear how the brutal way they lost. Speaking of losses, the Razorbacks fell 30-10 to the Florida Gators. Surprise, surprise. Arkansas goes on the road and loses. It didn't look that bad at the beginning. Arkansas led 7-0 after a quarter. Jonathan Williams made a nice touchdown run to open the game there, and it was 7-0 before you even really knew what was going on. And Florida, things sort of turned for Florida on one play, but nevertheless, Arkansas held their own for the first quarter, and really most of the first half held its own, and then things sort of broke. Now, I'll give you my thoughts about this, and Jason and I will talk about it here in just a little bit. He's going to try to call in about 11:30, but now I feel like Arkansas, there were a couple things that I saw, and this doesn't feel like the same sort of loss it did last week. Sort of a demoralizing feel this week when the Rutgers game, if Brandon Allen plays in the Rutgers game, Arkansas wins the game. It's as simple as that. You're up 24-7. Brandon Allen is light years ahead of A.J. Derby. You may not have looked like it against Florida, but Florida will make your quarterback look pretty bad most of the time with this style of defense. And on the road in the swamp, it was a stacked deck against Brandon Allen. But the Texas A&M game, he threw for, I think it was 280 some odd yards, 3 touchdowns, looked very good for Arkansas. This week, this wasn't his week. He didn't look good at all. And I'll talk a little bit about the things that I took from the game against Florida. The reason that I'm not as upbeat this week about the loss as I was last week. Now they're traveling back home. They get to play South Carolina at home this weekend. Jadeveon Clowney may or may not play. Just depends on whether he wants to hurt his draft stock or not. Yeah, the South Carolina coach is Steve Spurrier, not real excited. Now, he's kind of backtracked from the things that he said earlier on, but when he found out that Jadeveon Clowney wasn't going to play, it was sort of one of those things where the doctor said, okay, he can play, and Clowney came to him and said, Coach, my ribs are sore. I'm not going to play. I've got a strained muscle around my ribs, and I'm just not going to play this week, so sorry. And Coach Spurrier basically said he doesn't want to be a part of the team. If he doesn't want to play, we'll just take him back whenever he feels like he wants to play, sort of putting it on Jadeveon Clowney. And if you've watched the national shows, they sort of said the same thing about Jadeveon Clowney, that he's just not really acted like he wanted to play. He's more worried about his NFL future, and I can't necessarily blame him. If he had gone this year in the draft, he'd have been the number 1 overall pick, most likely. So I hope he doesn't play this week. It'd help Arkansas out a lot. Of course, I don't know if that Arkansas is going to be able to stop South Carolina in the running game, especially this week. Of course, the running game, the defensive line and the linebackers all look pretty good against the run. This weekend did allow Murphy to throw for 240 yards and 3 touchdowns, but the defensive line and the linebackers stepped up big enough in the running against the running game to really help Arkansas stay in striking distance for most of the game in that one. But we'll get to that here in a little bit. Our CrossFit Russellville poll question. Basically, after last week, a lot of people were upbeat. This week, I think people are a little bit more on the, oh man, what in the world was that type of feeling. So how do you feel? What changed from last week to this week? What are your thoughts on the Razorbacks' loss? Are you positive? Are you a little more upset than last week? What do you think about this week's performance by the Hogs against the Florida Gators? If you're like me, you expected the loss anyway. I had it 24-13 Florida. 30-10 is right in that neighborhood. And really, when we talk about one play here in a little bit, you'll see why I feel like the game could have been a little bit different anyway. But today's CrossFit Russellville poll question: what feels different about this week's Razorback loss to Florida as compared to the last 2 losses, Rutgers and Texas A&M? I do feel like there is a significantly different feel to this week as opposed to last week. But let's get started real quickly with our Peters Family Living local sports look. We had a full slate of high school football this weekend. On Friday night, it was, man, the weather this weekend was just incredible. It was cool, and it was nice. We talked about on Friday something that, it came to me Friday night when I was looking at the scores and really focusing on the games. I sort of came to hate homecoming a little bit more than I already do. Now, Clarksville was able to get a win over Huntsville on Friday night, and no offense to Huntsville, but they are really bad. I talked to Brad Caldwell before the game. He's living in Huntsville now, and he basically said, if you can't beat Huntsville, you can't beat anybody. Clarksville got a 21-14 win on homecoming, but it's just the distraction of all the stuff that you have to do on homecoming for high school kids that week. You got Spirit Week. You dress up as a superhero, wear pink, red, white, hat, shades, camo, all these different things that you have to, or not say that you have to do, that you do on a Spirit Week, on a homecoming week. Your cheerleaders are, in the, or not your cheerleader, your girls are in the homecoming court. You're doing different things to rouse up school spirit, but at the same time, I feel like they're distractions. Talked to Lamar coach Jones a couple weeks ago when they were on homecoming. They got down at 21-0. He was just like, they had all this other stuff going on and couldn't focus to begin the game. And I feel like that kind of came back to bite Russellville on Friday night. Got down big to Northside, came back in the game and fell 27-20. Gave Northside their first win of the year. Russellville, all the stuff. And I was there on Friday. They had a parade on Friday morning from here at Harps down with a police escort to the school before school. They had a pep rally at about 2:15 at the school that they honored the girls. They had the guys walk the girls out and crown the queen, and they did all that. And then they had the cheerleaders and dance teams come out and do their thing, and then they had the yell contest, and it was just a crazy atmosphere for guys who are trying to focus on a game that night. Now, I know they go to school all week, and they're not just focused on the game every bit of the day, but it just, to me, it's irritating that you would go into a game that you think is going to be a winnable game, and a game that you're going to really need to focus. You're going to have a big crowd on homecoming, and you would put all these other distractions in front of 17 and 18-year-old kids. If I'm Coach Holt, now I saw him. I didn't talk to him about it, but I saw him sitting across the gym on Friday, and he had this look on his face like, I absolutely hate this. Now, I know he loves Russellville High School. He loves the tradition of the Cyclones. He loves all the things that go around with the program, but you can just see the wheels turning in his mind where he's thinking, man, I've got Cody Jones out here with the microphone leading the cheer, and I've got Jalen Curtis standing over here, back and forth with the juniors and seniors yelling as loud as they can. Their mind is a million miles away from a football game that night. So, I got to the point to where watching that, and then they had another parade downtown on Friday, so your mind, by the time you get to the football game on Friday night on homecoming, is just all over the place. So I was disappointed that Russellville lost. It doesn't really come as a surprise to me with all the other distractions that go on during homecoming week. We mentioned that Clarksville beat Huntsville 21-14. Dover lost 40-8 to Mena. Atkins lost 28-20 to Lavaca. Lamar beat Mansfield 36-17. Two Rivers fell 44-27. Hector beat Magazine 33-8. Danville lost 46-18 to Centerville, and the Arkansas Tech Wonder Boys fell on the road at UA Monticello. I believe it's 34-0. So it was a tough week for them. We're going to talk about our game of the week when we get back. It was Pottsville Dardanelle, and it did not disappoint.
Over 69 years of treating you like family, Peters Family Living's main goal is customer service. That is their promise to their customers. They offer in-house financing on furniture and appliances and a 30-day money-back guarantee. For a friendly, no-pressure atmosphere, visit Peters Family Living today at 201 North Arkansas Avenue, Russellville. Online at petersfamilyliving.com or call 479-968-2929.
Today, there are more than 20 brands of cars being sold in America. So to be noticed, Ford and Cogswell Motors have to go further than anyone thought we could. How does Ford stand out above the crowd? Not just with plug-in vehicles like the new 2013 Ford Fusion Energy that gets a projected 100 miles per gallon equivalent, but also with a line of gas vehicles equipped with the innovative EcoBoost engines combining power and efficiency, plus a full measure of technologically advanced features. We invite you to stop into Cogswell Motors today. We go further than anyone thought we could, so that you can go further too.
RiverValleyLeader.com is the #1 local source for instant news in the River Valley, offering HD video and live streaming along with top-notch coverage of all the news and events around the area. The River Valley Leader is the only place to go for all the information you need. Check out the newest local business featured on the site, as well as police news and coverage from important meetings, along with the personal stories, all at one convenient click. Check out RiverValleyLeader.com.
Hi folks, Richard Roberts with Cogswell Motors in Russellville. You know, we've been in business since 1949. A dealership doesn't stay in business that long under the same ownership unless you're doing something right, and that's taking care of customers. We have the largest selection of new Ford, Lincoln, Mazda, and pre-owned vehicles in the River Valley. So if you want the most for your trade, the best interest rate on financing, and the best price on a new or pre-owned automobile, come to Russellville and see us. We're at 1900 East Main, or visit us on the web at cogswellmotors.com.
If you didn't count on KARK4 today this morning,
here's what you missed.
Updated news.
Police continue searching for suspects after a home intrusion overnight.
Developing stories.
There's another piece of presidential history turning up here in Arkansas.
And weather and traffic on the force.
Friday night, Saturday morning will bring us our next chance rain.
Every 10 minutes.
Around the clock.
Making your day easier.
So rise and shine and count on.
Count on.
Count on. KARK4 today.
We mentioned before the break the Pottsville Apaches and the Dardanelle Sand Lizards. It was our River Valley Leader featured game of the week. Ryan Smith was on hand at Keenan Field as the Apaches got a 21-18 win over Dardanelle. It was this close, like we said, this close in the first segment to being a Dardanelle win. A couple plays here and there, just one miscue here or there kept Dardanelle from being able to win the game. Pottsville goes ahead and takes care of business on Friday night. Now, Dardanelle was without their starting quarterback, Christian Thompson, who has been very, very good. Well, was very good in the first 3 games. Broke his arm diving into the end zone, so he hadn't been able to play the last couple weeks. I wish now that I'd been able to see that game on, if he had been able to play. I wish. Whoops, here we go. We got some audio here, and I don't even know what to do to stop it. Maddie, do you know what to do? Oh, well. Anyway, got some autoplay issues here. I love it when your computer starts playing stuff when you tell it not to. New computer, my bad. But anyway, I wish I could have seen that Pottsville Dardanelle game with the starting quarterback, Christian Thompson, for Dardanelle. That would have been a very interesting game. I feel like Dardanelle is going to bounce back and compete for the 4A4 championship. Boonville, very, very good in that conference. You've also got Maumelle, who is a very talented team as well. So with those top 4, you're going to have some competition come playoff time. Pottsville, definitely, I feel like Coach Rust and Michael Perry and the gang, they know that they've got some chinks in the armor they're going to have to get fixed. Some things they'll have to iron out, but I'm sure they would give a lot of credit to Dardanelle and Coach Josh Price and that gang for playing very well on Friday night in that game. It was a highly charged atmosphere there, I'm sure, and I look forward to watching these teams the rest of the year. We mentioned the other teams in our Peters Family Living local sports look, so we'll just move on from there, and we'll look real quickly at Major League Baseball. We're just going to hit the wire real quickly because I want to talk some NFL here in just a moment, but I would be remiss if I didn't mention the baseball series that we're going on right now. As soon as I sneeze, gotta love it, allergies. Right now you've got in the AL the Oakland A's and the Detroit Tigers tied at 1 game apiece. The first pitch of Game 3 will go on at about 12:07. I believe these are Eastern times. They've got 1:07. I believe Central time will be 12:07. And then the St. Louis Cardinals and Pittsburgh Pirates will get started at 2:07. St. Louis trying to even that series. Pittsburgh leads 2-1. Boston Red Sox lead 2-0 against the Tampa Bay Rays. That game will first pitch 5:07, and at 8:37 you'll get the Dodgers and the Braves. The Dodgers lead that one 2-1. They can close it out. So you've got the Cardinals trying to avoid elimination, the Rays trying to avoid elimination as Boston tries to close them out, and then the Los Angeles Dodgers trying to close out the Atlanta Braves there in that one as well. So big day of baseball. My predictions, I guess I had the Dodgers over Atlanta, and I'm a baseball expert, wink, wink. So I had the Dodgers over the Braves. I had the Boston Red Sox over Tampa Bay. I did have St. Louis over Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh making the most of the opportunity to be in the playoffs. They've been a team for the most part of 20 years that's just been not very good. And so they're happy to be there, and they're not just happy to be there though. They're trying to win the series up 2-1. I believe the Waka is the pitcher going for the Cardinals today. He's the one who nearly pitched a no-hitter a couple weeks ago, a little bouncer over his head that ended the no-hitter with 2 outs in the 9th. So he's going today trying to salvage the season for the St. Louis Cardinals. And then, like we mentioned, the Detroit Tigers tied 1 game apiece with the Oakland A's. Weldon Braxton, a big Oakland A's fan, he said that he's ready for his A's to go ahead and get it together and win that series. So baseball in full swing. We'll talk a little bit more about the Major League Baseball playoffs as they heat up a little bit more. But man, the weather. Speaking of heating up, it's cooling down around here, and I'm very much enjoying it. It's the best time of year. You've got Major League Baseball in the playoffs, college football and NFL in full swing. You've got the NBA starting in pregame. You know, Derrick Rose took the court for the first time in a long time. I saw a tweet the other day, and I know I'm not a big Derrick Rose fan. If you are, I apologize, but not really. That Derrick Rose, the last time he took the court, LeBron had no rings and just all these different things that were the oh crap. There was just a bunch of different people who were in different places and different situations and things that hadn't happened because Derrick Rose hadn't been on the court in a long time. You remember he tore his ACL during the Bulls Game 1 against the Miami Heat. All right, maybe it was early in the Miami Heat series when the Heat went ahead to win their first NBA championship with LeBron, and now they've won another one since. Derrick Rose plays, I think, 20 minutes in their preseason opener, so he's got things going for him. That was it. Dwight Howard was a member of the Magic. Was another one because he went to the Lakers last year. Now he's with the Rockets, and he got his first game action. The Oklahoma City Thunder did as well. They played a team from Germany, I think, whose name I couldn't even pronounce if I wanted to. But this is like I said, this is my favorite time of year. You get to the cooler weather. You get a little bit more sporting variety. If you're not just a football guy, which I love football, but watching a little basketball and paying attention to baseball when it counts, it's good stuff. And if it wets your whistle, you got hockey. Season just dropped a couple days ago. So there's just plenty for you if you're a sports fan this time of year. We've done before, me and Weldon, when we went to Little Rock, the best sports months of the year, and it was tough, man. There were some months that were really, really good, some months that were just kind of snoozers. July, nothing going on. October, November are both really, really good months of the year, and I think January was a good one. There's just a lot of stuff in a couple months of the year where you've got everything firing on all cylinders. It's a good month, and this, like I said, is definitely one of them. Jason will come on here in just a little bit, and his boy Josh Freeman. This is a Sports Blitz exclusive because Jason is a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan. They cut Josh Freeman. Maddie's a Minnesota Vikings fan. They picked him up. So you and Jason just right there. This is all for the Sports Blitz. Now, if the Dallas Cowboys could just do something. Josh Freeman, 1-year deal for $3 million. I was interested that the Vikings wanted him for 2 years, and he wanted just the 1-year deal. So, I don't even think it's a year deal. I think it's just to finish out this season. And they asked a couple of the guys, Jay Glazer and some of the NFL insiders, why he picked to go with a 1-year deal over a 2, and they're basically saying he's betting on himself. It's the Joe Flacco thing where, okay, I could sign this contract in the middle of the year. I wouldn't get as much money as if I played very well and turned things around for your team, and you wanted to pay me another notch up for my troubles. You could definitely win on that. But if you're Josh Freeman and you don't earn the job, you could have just lost out on another year and a couple $1,000,000 if you're not able to stick with the Minnesota Vikings. I'll be interested to see if he can beat out Christian Ponder. Lord, if he can't beat out Christian Ponder, he might as well just sit down. He might as well just retire because Christian Ponder's awful. So the Minnesota Vikings got Josh Freeman this weekend. It was down to them and the Buffalo Bills from what I'd heard, and the Buffalo Bills' last-minute efforts to reach Josh Freeman and sign him failed. And it's not really that much of a surprise. You got E.J. Manuel. You know they like him and that they want to make him the future of the franchise, and Josh Freeman didn't really... To me, it didn't make as much sense to go to the Buffalo Bills where they've got a quarterback they like when you could go to Minnesota, play with Adrian Peterson in his prime, and you got a young stable of wide receivers who are going to be pretty good. Cordero Patterson, pretty good. Greg Jennings, still got some tread left on those tires. Our own Jarius Wright, who's been able to play pretty well, and you've still got Adrian Peterson, like I said. So it fits well for Josh Freeman. We'll see if he can win that job. Yesterday was just a wild day in the NFL. We mentioned the Dallas Cowboys and the Denver Broncos. 51-48, the Denver Broncos come into Dallas, and they shock my Cowboys. Cowboys were up 14-0, and as I mentioned on Wednesday and Friday, it's just so very Dallas Cowboys to go and play the Denver Broncos this way the week after you lay an egg. And, they lost to the Kansas City Chiefs by 1 point a couple weeks ago. They lost again last week to the San Diego Chargers after having a lead. It would just be the Dallas Cowboys to come out and get a 14-0 lead on Denver and just threaten to run off. It would be so Dallas Cowboys to get down 21-17, 28-17, and come all the way back to take a lead at 41-38 and then blow it. Tony Romo, I can't even say enough good things about what Tony Romo did. 25 of 36 for 506 yards and 5 touchdowns. He had a 92 QBR. Okay, Peyton Manning, as great as he is, 33 of 42 for 414 and 4 touchdowns, including his first, and he also had his first interception of the season. 20 touchdowns to 1 interception so far. He had a 93.7 QBR. Tony Romo had a 92 QBR. I've explained to you what the QBR does before, so you can go back and look that up if you need to. But a 92 QBR out of 100 is just incredible for a game. Tony Romo was the reason Dallas was in the game. 12 carries for 43 yards for DeMarco Murray. They weren't running the ball very well. So you watch Tony Romo avoid defenders all day, extend plays with his legs, make great throws, and then the one throw, it's just Tony Romo. He went Romo on us. The one throw that he needs to make where he needs to step into it with 2 minutes left in the game, get him down the field and get a field goal at least, throws the interception. Now, I mentioned Trevathan made a great play, and he did, but I don't want to put this all on Tony Romo because you throw for 506 yards, 5 touchdowns, and you're the reason your team's in the game against Peyton Manning. You deserve credit. So we'll just give him that. Terrence Williams, 4 catches for 151 yards and a touchdown. Dez Bryant, 6 for 141 and 2 touchdowns. Dallas now 1-7 in games where Dez Bryant has 2 touchdowns. That's just a crazy stat. In games where Dez Bryant has 2 touchdowns, Dallas is 1-7. So Jason Witten, 7 for 121. Cole Beasley, 4 for 47 and a touchdown. The offense was just incredible. Monty Kiffin, you got to get something together with the defense. They're just terrible. When you've got Brandon Carr and you've got Mo Claiborne, you should not get torched like that in the passing game. Now, I know Peyton Manning, he'll throw it at the back of your corner's head when he's not looking, and then his receiver will just come around and catch it, and you're just like, what? And he did it a couple of times, but I understand Peyton Manning making you look silly, but if Phillip Rivers and Alex Smith can make you look silly, you're going to have to get something figured out. The safeties are not good. The linebackers have it's only Sean Lee. Everybody else is terrible in the linebacking core. And then the 4 down linemen, you've got DeMarcus Ware. You've had a lot of injuries down there on the defensive line as well. But schematically, Dallas is going to have to get something figured out. So we'll talk a little bit more about some of the NFL games. I'll give you my power rankings on Wednesday, but we'll talk a little bit more about those NFL games, and then we'll talk about the Hogs with Jason Kilburn right after the break.
Over 69 years of treating you like family, Peters Family Living's main goal is customer service. That is their promise to their customers. They offer in-house financing on furniture and appliances and a 30-day money-back guarantee. For a friendly, no-pressure atmosphere, visit Peters Family Living today at 201 North Arkansas Avenue, Russellville. Online at petersfamilyliving.com or call 479-968-2929.
Today, there are more than 20 brands of cars being sold in America. So to be noticed, Ford and Cogswell Motors have to go further than anyone thought we could. How does Ford stand out above the crowd? Not just with plug-in vehicles like the new 2013 Ford Fusion Energy that gets a projected 100 miles per gallon equivalent, but also with a line of gas vehicles equipped with the innovative EcoBoost engines combining power and efficiency, plus a full measure of technologically advanced features. We invite you to stop into Cogswell Motors today. We go further than anyone thought we could, so that you can go further too.
RiverValleyLeader.com is the #1 local source for instant news in the River Valley, offering HD video and live streaming along with top-notch coverage of all the news and events around the area. The River Valley Leader is the only place to go for all the information you need. Check out the newest local business featured on the site, as well as police news and coverage from important meetings, along with the personal stories, all at one convenient click. Check out RiverValleyLeader.com.
Hi folks, Richard Roberts with Cogswell Motors in Russellville. You know, we've been in business since 1949. A dealership doesn't stay in business that long under the same ownership unless you're doing something right, and that's taking care of customers. We have the largest selection of new Ford, Lincoln, Mazda, and pre-owned vehicles in the River Valley. So if you want the most for your trade, the best interest rate on financing, and the best price on a new or pre-owned automobile, come to Russellville and see us. We're at 1900 East Main, or visit us on the web at cogswellmotors.com.
If you didn't count on KARK4 today this morning,
Here's what you missed.
updated news,
Police continue searching for suspects after a home intrusion overnight.
developing stories,
There's another piece of presidential history turning up here in Arkansas.
and weather and traffic on the force.
Friday night, Saturday morning will bring us our next chance rain.
Every 10 minutes.
Around the clock.
Making your day easier.
So rise and shine and count on.
Count on.
Count on KRK4 today.
We are joined now by good friend Jason Kilburn on the line. Welcome back into the Sports Blitz on a Monday. Mark Freeman, Maddie Lassiter here in the Cogswell Motors studio. We mentioned the Dallas Cowboys and the Denver Broncos. One of the best games in the NFL in a long time. If you like offense. Now, if you're a defensive guy, you probably hated yesterday, but 51-48 is a defensive play that changed the game. And, Jason, I thought it was interesting listening. When I was reading the obviously, I didn't get to watch the end of the game, but when I was reading the Gamecast and I saw that Denver was inside the 5-yard line and they're trying to get a first down but not score, I thought this has Peyton Manning written all over it. And when I listened to the post-game interview and he said he was telling Noshawn Moreno, do not score because we don't want to give them the ball back with a minute left. We want to get the first down and then kill the clock and kick the field goal with no time left. Brilliant, brilliant move by Peyton Manning.
It was a brilliant move, and I mean that's what a smart quarterback like him is perfect for. You know, me and Leslie was watching the game, and Leslie was saying, "Why don't they just run it in?" And I was like, "No, you can't do that because you're going to give Dallas the chance to come back and either have a chance to win." But yeah, that was smart. I mean, they just got there. They got that first down that they needed, which was first and go from the 1, and then they need it 3 times in a row and then kick the field goal at the end to win the game. It was a brilliant move.
It was great coaching and offense. I don't want to give all the credit to Peyton Manning, but I just knew when I saw it that it had Peyton Manning written all over it. And he was able to his credit, get Knowshon Moreno to decide not to score. It's hard if you're an NFL running back and you're judged by your stats and you've got 1 yard with a team who wants to let you score and you don't score because you feel like the team goal is more important. That says a lot about what he thinks about Peyton Manning and what he thinks about this team and what they're going to do. And how much they trust him. Still 19 carries for 93 yards and a touchdown for Knowshon Moreno. Not terrible at all. But let's look across the NFL landscape. From yesterday, I saw a couple games that I thought were interesting. The New Orleans Saints, 26-18 winners over the Chicago Bears. Cincinnati, 13-6 losers. 13-6 winners over the New England Patriots. New Orleans stays undefeated. New England falls for the first time. Tom Brady's 51 straight games that he'd thrown a touchdown pass, and that streak is stopped cold in its tracks. And the New England Patriots fall their first loss of the year. 52 games for Tom Brady. I'm shorting him there. Anything else that really just jumped out to you, Jason, about the NFL games yesterday?
You was talking about New Orleans, man, and for them to go into Chicago and win at Chicago, I thought that was big. And then Kansas City Chiefs, they're 5-0. And here in a couple of weeks, you're going to have the Broncos versus Chiefs, which both teams should be undefeated at that time. So that's going to be a big matchup for them. And it's just crazy that Kansas City was so horrible last year. And they had talent on that team, but I guess they just did not have a coach. And Andy Reid has really bought in a team philosophy of, we're going to win, we're going to play hard-nosed football, and we're just going to get after you. And I think Kansas City has really turned the corner of being one of the surprise teams. And then you also look at Seattle. They got beat yesterday, which that was their first loss of the year. And they played good, but, Russell Wilson, I keep on saying it, man, the sophomore slump that he's having, I think it's just really affecting how good Seattle is. And then another thing I want to talk about is the New York Giants. They're falling to 0-5. And we talked about last week about Tom. I just went. What's his name? Tom
Coughlin.
Coughlin, yeah. He's 0-5 now. So how long will he be there? They've got talent on that team, and they should be better than the 0-5 record. But it's just crazy that they're 0-5 at this point in the year.
It really is. It's sort of like a New Orleans Saints from last year, where they didn't have the coach, and their defense was just horrendous, maybe worst ever, statistically one of the worst of all time, and they weren't able to compete in a lot of games. They ended up going 7-9, but the New York Giants, I don't know if they've quit on Tom Coughlin or if his message just stopped getting through to them, but their defense has just been horrendous. And when you've got a bad defense that gives up 36 points to the why do I keep calling teams by the wrong name, to the Philadelphia Eagles, the offense with Eli Manning cannot throw so many interceptions, make so many bad decisions, and not able to run the ball. You're fumbling the ball all over the place. It seems like that it's been a perfect storm for the New York Giants this year. I don't know that Tom Coughlin will lose his job. I'm not sure that his voice has stopped being heard if he's sort of noise to the players right now, but I can tell that things do not look good for the New York Giants. But with all that said, the leader in the NFC East, the Dallas Cowboys and the Washington Redskins are tied for the NFC East lead. I said it right, with a 2-3 record. The New York Giants, if they were to get hot and win 3 games in a row while these other teams just keep losing like they have been, they could be right there just immediately. So that that division has just been pitiful this year. To your other games that you mentioned, Seattle just looks so different on the road than they do at home. Now, I know their defensive backs are great, and they'll get after you, and they'll play very well in the pass defense, but Andrew Luck shredded them pretty well yesterday. T.Y. Hilton with a couple long touchdown receptions, 229 yards and 2 touchdowns for Andrew Luck. Doesn't sound like much, but when you think about what Seattle's done to everybody else, it was a pretty good game for those guys. Trent Richardson, 18 carries for 56 yards, nothing to really write home about. But Russell Wilson didn't look great, like you mentioned, lost a fumble, threw another interception. He had a QBR of about 67, so just a little bit above average. And New Orleans beating Chicago, I'm with you. That was a big win for the New Orleans Saints. They're looking like a contender right now for, I'm going to give my power rankings on Wednesday, but they're looking like a contender. Denver, far and away, number 1. Seattle's going to have to fall out of that number 2 spot. New Orleans is going to jump up. New England, obviously, falling down a little bit. Kansas City's going to jump up a little bit. But the power rankings, I'm going to have to put San Francisco back in there. What they did to Matt Schaub last night was incredible. For the 4th game in a row, Jason, that he's thrown an interception return for a touchdown. I'm not sure that he'll ever get his confidence back.
Yeah, Mark, and I don't know what happened to him because, just a few years ago he was a really good quarterback.
Yeah.
And it's not like he's lost any weapons because they still got Andre Johnson and they got Owen Daniels and, they've got talent there too. It's just, I don't know where Schaub is throwing some of those throws last night. Like one time, Andre Johnson came around in a curl and was wide open and he threw it over his head. So I don't know if he has lost confidence in his throwing ability or holding on to the ball different or his release point is different or something, but it just seems like to me he has lost all confidence in himself.
Yeah, that's part of it, and I really feel like looking at the decisions that he made. The first interception yesterday, what happened was he stared down Andre Johnson, and if you're Matt Schaub, people already expect you to go to Andre Johnson. If you're staring him down, they're going to have already given him plenty of attention. The corner that came and picked that off, I think it was a corner, he came off another guy and came and picked that ball off and took it to the house. It was like taking candy from a baby because Matt Schaub stared him down. When you get into a bad situation, I understand if you're Matt Schaub, and that was the first pass of the game, or it was the first possession of the game for sure. When you get into a situation where you don't have much confidence, you go to your security blanket. Andre Johnson, obviously that for the Houston Texans. So for Matt Schaub to really stare him down, it sort of was an easy take for the defensive back to take that interception and just basically thank you for the touchdown as he walked into the end zone. So real quickly, Jason, before we get to the break, we'll talk about the Razorbacks and their loss to Florida. How big do you think in the final analysis that I want to call it halo rule, where Arkansas was not able to get the ball following the Florida quote-unquote fumble, muff punt, how big do you think that turned out to be?
That was a big play in the game for sure. But it's funny because Bielema even talked about that, which I didn't know this rule. But on a punt returner catching the ball, if they fumble the ball and it goes to the ground, it's a live ball. But if he fumbles it and it stays up in the air, the punt returner still has control of getting the ball, trying to get it back in his hands and stuff, and the defenders cannot touch the ball, and that's why Arkansas got the penalty.
Yep. I want to tell you, and now Brett Bielema was on the rules committee, so he was there in the meetings. He's been very, very well versed on the rules, so he said it wasn't a surprise to him. He didn't even argue the call. I want to tell you after this break why I think that rule is absolute crap.
Over 69 years of treating you like family, Peters Family Living's main goal is customer service. That is their promise to their customers. They offer in-house financing on furniture and appliances and a 30-day money-back guarantee. For a friendly, no-pressure atmosphere, visit Peters Family Living today at 201 North Arkansas Avenue, Russellville, online at petersfamilyliving.com or call 479-968-2929.
Today, there are more than 20 brands of cars being sold in America. So to be noticed, Ford and Cogswell Motors have to go further than anyone thought we could. How does Ford stand out above the crowd? Not just with plug-in vehicles like the new 2013 Ford Fusion Energy that gets a projected 100 miles per gallon equivalent, but also with a line of gas vehicles equipped with the innovative EcoBoost engines combining power and efficiency, plus a full measure of technologically advanced features. We invite you to stop into Cogswell Motors today. We go further than anyone thought we could, so that you can go further too.
RiverValleyLeader.com is the #1 local source for instant news in the River Valley, offering HD video and live streaming along with top-notch coverage of all the news and events around the area. The River Valley Leader is the only place to go for all the information you need. Check out the newest local business featured on the site, as well as police news and coverage from important meetings, along with the personal stories, all at one convenient click. Check out rivervalleyleader.com.
Hi folks, Richard Roberts with Cogswell Motors in Russellville. You know, we've been in business since 1949. A dealership doesn't stay in business that long under the same ownership unless you're doing something right, and that's taking care of customers. We have the largest selection of new Ford, Lincoln, Mazda, and pre-owned vehicles in the River Valley. So if you want the most for your trade, the best interest rate on financing, and the best price on a new or pre-owned automobile, come to Russellville and see us. We're at 1900 East Main, or visit us on the web at cogswellmotors.com.
If you didn't count on KARK4 today this morning,
Here's what you missed.
updated news,
Police continue searching for suspects after a home intrusion overnight.
developing stories,
There's another piece of presidential history turning up here in Arkansas.
and weather and traffic on the force.
Friday night, Saturday morning will bring us our next chance of rain.
Every 10 minutes.
Around the clock.
Making your day easier.
So rise and shine and count on.
Count on.
Count on KRK4 today.
Okay, I got a little bit more mad in the break about the Arkansas penalty in the second quarter. Yes, I'm talking about a penalty in the second quarter of a game that Arkansas lost 30-10 as being a big turning point for the Hogs. You're in the swamp. You're down, I believe at that point it was 10-7. Florida was ahead. Arkansas punts, and the Florida receiver bobbles the ball, right? He bobbles the ball into a Razorback's hands. And the Razorbacks have the ball, yay. Ref comes up, drops the little pink flag. He didn't throw it immediately. It was one of those things where everybody's piled up and he kind of pulls it out of his pocket and drops it. And it was like slow-mo. I watched it happen and I thought, my goodness, he is not calling kick-catch interference on this. Yes, he is. He's calling that Arkansas didn't give the guy the ability to catch the ball when he's bobbling it. I want you to just let that soak in for just a second. The guy has the right, like Jason mentioned before the break, to bobble the ball and then catch it, regardless of anything that happens between it hitting his hands and it hitting the ground. Now, if it hits the ground, it's a live ball. Why don't we make that the rule on offense, to where if a wide receiver is running and he bobbles the ball, but it hits you in the chest, you can't catch it or else it's a penalty? What kind of sense does that make in football? What kind of sense does it make that a guy who is standing in a legal position, now it's not like he got up there to where, and it was shielding him to where he couldn't see the ball to catch it. He had both hands on it, bobbled it into a Razorback's arms. Arkansas is not eligible to have that ball. Well, if you're a punt returner and that's the rule, why don't you just run up to catch the ball and then act like you're bobbling it all the way to the end zone? Because they can't touch you. That doesn't make any sense at all. Y'all got to change that rule, NCAA, because that's ridiculous. Arkansas, instead of having the ball inside the 15 with a chance to go in and take the lead before the half, or at least tie the game, gives the ball to Florida. There was a penalty on that play, a penalty in another play. They get near the 50, right around the 50, throw a touchdown pass to go up 17-7 into the half. It just all unraveled from there for the Hogs. And Jason, I felt like that play, and I don't want to be too negative Nancy and too gloom and doom and too conspiracy theorist. I feel like that play can be looked at as a turning point in the game.
Mark, I agree with you. It was a really big turning point, because Arkansas would have had momentum right there at the, at the least they would have tied the game. So at the very least it would have been 10-10. Instead it was 17-7. But the other play that I thought was big was the pick six, because that was another bad throw by Brandon Allen. And I was texting you during the game and asking you what you thought about that, if you thought Brandon Allen was a good quarterback, or is it the wide receivers, which I understand we don't have any big-time wide receivers like we have in the past with Childs and Adams and Wright. But it just seemed to me like Allen was making some horrible throws. There was one time that he missed Carroll Small that would have been a big play that would have got us a first down, and we end up punting to them, and I think that's when we got them backed up. Actually, that might have been the punt that you're talking about, that he muffed. But there was too many big plays that Arkansas did in the game that I think that caused them to lose the game. You can't have that many penalties. You can't have that many drop passes. You can't have that many missed tackles to be a good team in the swamp at home.
No, you're right. The interception return for a touchdown was bad. He did make some bad throws. Here, I don't want to completely defend Brandon Allen. I do understand that he's got to get better. He's a sophomore in his first road start, and it's in the swamp. So I've got to give him a little bit of a break there. He was 17 of 41. What business does Brandon Allen in his first start on the road have throwing the ball 41 times? That's the play calling. That's coaching. You don't make the guy throw it 41 times when you've got Alex Collins going for 54 yards. Now, I understand that, Florida's run defense is incredible. Arkansas ran for 111 yards on a team that the most they'd given up so far was 60-some-odd yards. You got to keep them a little bit more honest than that. When you run the ball 29 times and throw it 43 against Florida, you're getting a little too cute for my liking, if you must know, Jason. I feel like at the end of the day, the reason Arkansas lost this game is because the style of play that they want to play, it's the same style that Florida wants to play. But I think Arkansas's offense can be better than Florida's. They're running the same style of defense where it's just smash mouth. We want to run the ball first and then stop you on the defensive side of the ball. Arkansas doesn't have the Jimmies and the Joes to compete with Florida when if everything else was equal as far as the X's and the O's, Arkansas just didn't have the Jimmies and the Joes.
I agree with that too. And you were talking about the rushing attempts. Every quarter, our rushing attempts went down, and I don't understand that because we weren't never out of the game really till we got really down 30-10. We were pretty much in the game the whole time. And for Bielema, he's always said, we're a run first team. We run off play action. That's how they're going to throw the ball and stuff. He gave up on the run, in my opinion. Him and Chaney both gave up on the run because, like you were saying, Collins had 54 yards, but, and Williams had, how many yards did he have?
Williams I know he had a touchdown. He had 32 yards. He was averaging 4 yards a carry, though. He only had 8 touches.
They both combined average over 4 yards a carry. I mean, if you figure that out, if you run the ball 3 times in a row, that's a first down. And I understand where we might get stopped for a 1 yard loss or we might have a 6 yard gain or whatever, but I think for Bielema's style of play, I think he abandoned what he is coached to do.
Yeah, no, I mean, I feel like that's part of the problem. Another part of the problem, I think, when I mentioned they don't have the Jimmies and the Joes, the receiving core, Alex Collins led the team with 5 catches for 45 yards. Now, and Hunter Henry was second with 2 catches for 42 yards. Arkansas does not have a wide receiver who can stand up to that style of play, that type of defense. I feel like Javonte Herndon, he showed up to me. If you've watched the first 3 games, he's up here, and he's come back down to earth since he started playing teams with athletes that are just better. He's shown that he's not a number 1. No offense to him, he's a good number 3 or a satisfiable, whatever, number 2, decent. He's not a number 1 wide receiver. He's the best that Arkansas has to offer right now. You've got Keon Hatcher and DeArthur Cowan and guys who can be a weapon coming down the stretch and in the future. But Hunter Henry is the only receiving threat that's not a running back. Alex Collins had 99 total yards, 54 rushing, 45 receiving. He was basically the only player on the field offensively who belonged, quote unquote. When you look at the Florida defense, I know Jonathan Williams had a touchdown and it was a nice touchdown, but Alex Collins was the only one who could really hang with those guys. It was very disconcerting to me that you've got a team that's going to throw the ball 41 times. Your best wide receiver is Javonte Herndon. It'll take a couple years, Jason, but I think Arkansas can recruit to the style, and they're not ever going to have Joe Adams and Jarius Wright and Greg Childs anymore. That's just not going to happen. Now you'll have an occasional Nick Toon. That's what Brett Bielema had in Wisconsin, but you're not going to have a stable of wide receivers. To me right now, throwing the ball 43 times against a team that is very, very good on defense and you don't have offensive weapons is sort of irresponsible.
Yeah, I agree with you once again, Mark. I mean, when you're talking about the wide receivers, we don't have a wide receiver that we can say, all right, man, here's what I want you to do. I want you to run an out here, a 15-yard out, or I want you to run a post or something, and then he's going to be able to get separation from the cornerback and then make a play after he catches the ball. If that's juking the safety or whatever, if that's just turning on the afterburners and taking it to the house. We don't have that guy. And the thing that scares me the most is, when Bielema was at Wisconsin, every year that he was there, the tight end led in receptions. So that tells me that he's going to throw a bunch of underneath patterns. And I'm afraid, which I'm a Bielema fan, don't get me wrong, I like him, and I think we'll be good in time. I don't know if he will be able to get the big-time wide receiver that we need to throw the ball to on a 3rd and long, or that we need a Hail Mary or whatever the case may be on a passing situation. And, you said that we didn't have a Childs, Ryder, Adams. All those kids came from in-state. So what was Arkansas done if they didn't have those kids in state? Would they have been able to go out and recruit nationwide to bring kids in to run that system? It's just going to be, the next couple of years will be really telling to me on where the direction of this program is going.
No, that's a very good point about those receivers coming from in-state. Maybe, you'll have to get another Greg from Pine Bluff, or you'll have to, Hunter Henry from PA. You'll have to get the guys that you can get in-state and figure out a way to go get some more Hawkins and Hatchers and guys from out of the state that can contribute. That was a very disconcerting stat that you mentioned about tight ends leading the team in receptions every year. That scares me. But I think that's part of why he's got Jim Chaney trying to be the offensive coordinator, calling the plays to try to even things out, because Brett Bielema and Chris Ash, the defense, they'll get things going on the defensive side of the ball eventually to where Arkansas can compete defensively, and I can't wait for that day to happen. But I feel like he understands he's got to get the offensive side to a less predictable, less grinded out, punch you in the mouth with the running game, because as much as that's good to, it'll work a lot of times. You play the Alabamas, LSUs, A&M, Floridas of the world, you're going to have to be balanced, because they'll take away what you do best. They'll take away, it's just like in a basketball game where a team says, all right, well, we're going to run a box and one or a triangle and two. We're going to put some sort of junk defense together to stop what you do best. If you've got Alex Collins and that's all you've got, they're going to shut that down. If you've got one receiver, if it's Hunter Henry, and they see that Hunter Henry's in the game and he's not the blocking tight end, he's the pass receiving tight end, they'll shut him down. It's going to happen. So I do think that Brett Bielema and the offensive staff will get things going in the right direction. 8 penalties, 2 turnovers when Florida had none on the road, 41 passes, more passes than rushes in a game where you really needed to run the ball well against a team that just didn't give up much on the run. I have to give them credit, but at the same time, they sort of shot themselves in the foot. And as we move forward to the South Carolina game, we'll talk about it on Wednesday. Arkansas is just going to have to play better in all facets of the game. You go from 1 turnover or 1 penalty against Texas A&M to 8 penalties on the road. It says a lot about the way you I don't want to say the way you prepared, but the way you handled the atmosphere and the way you handled the rough stretch there on the road. Jason, anything else you want to add about the Florida game?
No, nothing on the Florida game, but my biggest concern is, well, not really a concern, I guess. I just want to see how this team bounces back from 3 straight losses. Last year at this time when we got adversity or something, man, the team would just give up. We might be in a game and we might have one bad play, and then next thing you know, we're getting beat 50-0. So I'm anxious to see what Bielema tells his team, to how they're going to fight these next couple games, because we got a tough game Saturday against South Carolina, and then the next week is, at Bama. So we could potentially lose 5 games in a row before Auburn comes back to town. So I'm anxious to see how this team is going to bounce back from 3 straight losses, and how Bielema is going to be able to coach them to go out there and still prepare that we still have a chance to win, and still have a chance to go to a bowl game. So that's the only thing I'm curious of how this team's going to go forward.
11 a.m. kick on Saturday against South Carolina. We'll break it down on Wednesday. Maybe Jadeveon Clowney will give us a present and just decide not to play. We mentioned on Friday the basketball commitment that was coming on Friday afternoon. it was Jalen Hudson deciding between Virginia Tech and Arkansas. He picked Virginia Tech. So we mentioned on Friday that he was probably leaning that way. That's exactly what he chose to do. Mike Anderson and his staff misses on a guy that they really wanted. So we'll see what that means for the team. They've started practice. They're going to Bud Walton today. I feel like Arkansas is going to bounce back this year and be at least middle of the pack and in the conversation for in the SEC, and at least in the conversation for an NCAA tournament berth. But on Wednesday, I want to look at the injuries that took place on Saturday night. Jason, we've got several guys who are going to be out for extended amount of time. Need to send along our condolences to Will Hines, out for the year. Just a rough injury there for him. But Jason, are you going to be able to be with us on Wednesday at all?
Yeah, I'll be there Wednesday. I'll call in on Wednesday.
All right, man. Take it easy. Have a good day.
All right, you too.
All right, that's Jason Kilburn. Appreciate him calling in and giving us his thoughts. That's all the time we have for today. We'll be back on Wednesday at 11 o'clock. For Maddie and Jason, I'm Mart. So long. We'll see you at 11 o'clock on Wednesday at rivervalleyleader.com.